God is a Geek podcast, your new favourite podcast about video games. Kanye getting censored for almost a minute at the Billboard Awards, popular American chat show man David Letterman hanging up his chat glasses, and Stephen Gerrard bidding farewell to the cop as Alan Pardew ruins the party. I am your host, Colm Ahern, and with me this week is the medical marvel. It's my Iron Man. It's Adam Cook.
I thought you were going to go with you're always going to include bits of the, your intro's great. It was a bit lackadaisical this week, to be honest, but I thought when it came to the football thing, I thought you were going to talk about Sam Allardyce, to be honest with you. I'm a little bit disappointed you didn't.
Well, I mean, I had to go with the obvious and go with the Stephen Gerrard's testimonial, because it was a momentous occasion for the world of football.
The narrative.
Yeah. That's all this season has been for Liverpool, is trying to build up this narrative of, like, the FA Cup is the prime example. Oh, it's on Stephen Gerrard's birthday, this will be the great send-off, and it's like, no,
I love that.
Fucked it.
I love that because I like the idea that in the final, if they'd got there against Arsenal would just let them win because it was Stephen Gerrard's birthday, so Arsenal would just let them win the FA Cup. Yep, brilliant.
You can't ruin the man's birthday. He's an England legend. He is almost. I'm being facetious, Adam Cook. I thought my tone would.
Well, no, it's just
give
because
off that impression.
Obviously you're not an England supporter, so I thought maybe you'd think he really is an England legend. From your perspective, maybe he actually is.
No.
Yeah, England's brave legend.
I mean, that's England's Lionheart, John Terry.
John Terry, yeah. Although, like, not to talk about football with the whole podcast, honestly, like the season John Terry's had, he kind of should be playing for England, really.
Without question.
Even though he's a complete cunt.
Yeah, he is. But if we're just to talk about his footballing prowess, it was like when, I know he's over in Roma now, just sitting on the bench, but Ashley Cole, at one point, there could have been an argument made for him being the best left back in the entire world. The man was an absolute fire, but he's a cunt. You can't deny that. But it felt like any time I was talking to people about, like, Ashley Cole is a really excellent player, it's like, yeah, but he's a fucking asshole. And it's like, yeah, I know that, but just looking at his footballing prowess. Adam, how are you? How have you been?
I'm good, mate. I've been very, very busy because there's just been a lot of stuff to do, and I've been reviewing The Witcher 3, which basically meant I didn't see anyone that wasn't Geralt and people in Geralt's world for roughly 2.5 weeks. At this point, I'm still playing it, actually, so it's nearer to 3 in a bit. So I've been very busy. That's about it, really. I mean, work. Yourself?
Okay. Yeah, basically the same,
Yeah.
Working and stuff. Yeah, I can't really come up with a link. Let me see.
You could have just gone with it. I mean,
well, you see, because I want to do a joke. Hold on, okay, I'm going to try the joke. Yeah. I'm going to try the joke. Just pretend you didn't ask me.
Right? This will be fixed in post.
Pretend. Okay, you didn't ask me how my week has been. We'll just kind of finish the sentence again about The Witcher and just say, "Oh, that's all I've been doing is like playing The Witcher." Like in your own words.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've just been
action.
I've just been playing, lots of games. Well, specifically one game, The Witcher 3. I haven't had a chance to do anything else. Just lots of that work.
Yeah, I suppose, and that brings us onto the games we've been playing this week, because I really wanted to ask you about this, Adam. It's the marquee title at the minute. It's what everyone's speaking about, and I mean, I really have to ask you, how did you get on with Broken Age Act 2?
Well, I started from the beginning.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, because I played a little bit of it on PC. It never really grabbed me, actually, but like I don't know. I mean, growing up, played a lot of point-and-click games, loved the genre. Discworld, to this date, is one of those games I'll always hold in high regard. But at this point, that kind of game where it's not... I felt it's more suited to sitting on the sofa, sort of with your feet up. You haven't. It's not a shooter. It's not somewhere you've got to. You sit back down your sofa and you're like, right, let's play some whatever Call of Duty, and you sort of slowly. Or FIFA is the one that you start sat down and you edge closer to the edge of the sofa until you are at some point you just give up and you're like, let's just get the chair from the dining room and just sit nearer the screen.
Basically, you keep going until you are actually playing in the right wing.
Yeah, because basically. Whereas Broken Age genuinely is a game where you can just sort of lay back with your feet up and just indulge in it a bit. So I kind of didn't get into it on the PC and have now nearly finished it on PS4, I think. And I think it's got some of the best voice acting in any game ever, but that's because they paid for the best voice acting they could get. They didn't just go, let's just get Tyrion Lannister, Peter Dinklage, whatever his real name is.
Yeah.
They went and got people they thought would suit their game and suit their characters. You know, I guess Tim Schafer had his characters written and had an idea of how they might sound and thought, well, they would be the best people for it. And it really works. You've played Act 1. It's a point-and-click game. Act 1's brilliant, actually, for what it's worth. And I think the way it ends is genius. I won't say how, because, you know, people are playing it for the first time. And I really like Act 2, until you get to a certain puzzle, which involves rewiring things. And holy shit, what were they thinking?
See, yeah, I haven't gotten around to playing Act 2 just yet, but I've heard one complaint of it is that, so in Act 1, you can play it as you see fit. You can play the entirety of, I can't remember their names at all. What's the girl's name?
Shay and Vela.
Right, so let's just say, if you want to play the entirety of Vela's story, you can. And then you can jump to Shay.
Yeah.
Or you can kind of go back and forth. However you see, like if you get bored of one for a while, jump to the other, see what they're doing.
You can, but
in Act 2, apparently, there are, I suppose, puzzles. Like if you're playing as Vela, like I don't know because I haven't played it, but if you're playing as Vela, there might be a puzzle that you actually can solve, right? And you will have to go to Shay.
Well, before I explain that, like, just out of interest, Act 1, did you switch between them? Because I never did. I just played one, and I think I played Shay's because I'd already played a bit of Vela's, and I didn't want to immediately basically start what I'd already done, all of that, because I'd already got to Skyloft, and I didn't want to do all of that again straight away from starting a new game. So I did Shay stuff, and there's a point in Shay's story where his story ends, and you go and play as Vela. Did you do that, or did you just switch between them?
I kind of switched between them, yeah.
I cannot imagine playing this game like that because I would get so confused and lost. But anyway, you can do that, as you quite rightly say. Now, the thing is I'm going to explain in detail what you've just explained, because although it's a slight spoiler, I think it's important you hear it, because if you don't hear it, you will just not finish this game. Mm-hmm. There is a puzzle in Shay's game which involves you having to rewire something, but the solution to that puzzle is in Vela's game. If you don't switch to her and find this, you cannot complete it. Now, the reason being is it's random. From what I understand, I've looked for a walkthrough. This puzzle is so obtuse and I think badly designed that I actually went, I just want to finish it, I'm going to look for a walkthrough. Even the walkthroughs couldn't explain it to me. I had to go and watch a YouTube video where I think it was a Yogscast, one of the girls from Yogscast explained it, and I finally went, I get it now. And I realised, and it's so obtuse and poorly, I don't know what the word is, it's just poorly done, that unless you know exactly what you're doing, which, let's put it this way, right? Double Fine, when they provided the code for review that Michaela reviewed, actually gave a reviewer's guide, like, just in case. And so my first port of call was to look at that.
Yeah.
Still couldn't do it. So it's that, and I'll be honest, I thought I was going to finish it last night, but because of this puzzle, which I'd even heard about, like I'd even heard there's a really bad wire puzzle at the end, or near the end, so even prepared for it, I still didn't fully understand how annoying it would be, and it's frustrating, and I think I spent 45 minutes in the end until I finally got it, and I've heard that there's another one coming up, and by the looks of it, I've just found that, and I got to that and basically stopped and thought, I cannot do this tonight. It was about 11:30 in the end. This is no, I can't do it. And it's a shame. It's a shame because it's a superb game.
Is it kind of turning you off the game? So
I will finish it, even if I have to now get a YouTube video on like the iPad and watch it and copy it. I will finish it just to say I finished it. But my God, if I was reviewing this, where that sort of thing obviously wouldn't have happened yet, because the game wasn't out. My God, I mean, I've heard that this is that people complained about it being easy, because Broken Age Act 1 is quite easy. I don't think there's any point where it's difficult. Can you remember anything where you got stumped? Because I don't remember it being stumped at all.
I think when you're kind of getting your man to do the different patterns.
A
little bit.
But that's right near the end of his bit as well, so that's not unfair. But this, I heard they got criticised for the difficulty, and this is kind of the, well, here you go then. But my God, they went too far. They went so far that I would not be surprised that people to get to this point and just go, nope, that's me done with this game then. And that's a great shame, because I really dig everything else about it. I really do. I think on PS4 it works brilliantly. It's just, I mean, probably people are listening going, no, but you talked about Broken Age a year ago, because it came out a year ago, the first bit.
Yeah.
But my God, does it look glorious or what? That's a wallpaper game, isn't it? That's a desktop wallpaper game.
Oh, the animation is absolutely beautiful.
But just generally really the style, I mean, like how it's so different in terms of it's colourful, it's bright.
Yeah.
It's you could screenshot nearly any part of that and have that as your desktop wallpaper happily.
Yeah, I agree. It really is. And it's like, the reason that I suppose I haven't gotten around to Act 2 is, well, busy, but also the fact that I spoke before about how I came across a game-breaking bug in Act 1.
Oh, yeah.
And I was quite late on, and I was like, I don't really want to play through it again. But a couple of weeks ago, alright, I tried to basically just skip every possible bit of dialogue that I could, and try and just go through it as quickly as possible. But I haven't finished it just yet, so I still have to finish it.
There's actually a trophy on the PS4 for finishing the whole game in under an hour.
Under an hour?
Yeah, and I kind of think that's a weird thing to put in. Like, hey, rush our game.
Yeah, don't listen to our dialogue that we wrote.
I mean, I guess it's obvious that's for a second playthrough, but because there are a couple of trophies as well that are not essential to the story. It's difficult because I really like it, but I have to say that is a massive misstep, and it's I mean, my save file says 6.5 hours. I'm into it, so it's a decent length game for what it is. But I really like it. It's a hard one to say don't play it, because I think the voice acting, the looks, everything about it is just lovely. I just think some of the puzzles are very typical of point and click games, but from an era that's past, and I don't know whether you can just write it off to say, oh yeah, but games back then were harder. They were, but the rest of the game isn't. Like, this is an outlier. This is different. It's just so obtuse. I'd like you to play it, to be honest, and hear what you think, because it's the sort of thing that would just, it gets inside your head and drives you mad.
Yeah, I mean, like when I played Grim Fandango, and I spoke about it I think it was myself, I think Nails had possibly played it that week as well, and Calvin, I think the three of us had played it, and we spoke about it, and it was like, because we didn't play the game at the time, we didn't have, there was no nostalgia towards it.
Yeah.
So we were just playing it as a straight up game in 2015, and it's like, how am I meant to know that this goes there or that is there? And like, yeah, like you say, how the first act was relatively easy, and yeah, it was. Like, but there's a fine, like, you find that middle ground. It doesn't have to be piss easy or just unbelievably obtuse hard. Well, there is a middle ground.
That fine line, they not only cross it, they pull their trousers down, take a shit on it, put the sand back over the line so you'll walk across it and step in it again. It's that obtuse. It's weird because, as you say, the reverence to the sort of genre of old, I don't think Broken Age does that. I don't think it's that kind of all the way through. You're like, well, if I knew this genre, I think anyone can play that game up until that point where all of a sudden it just goes, right, this is for the people who played games in the 80s and 90s, and even if you did, like I did, and no, just no.
Yeah, if you can cast your mind back, I suppose, for that particular second segment of the game to a simpler time when the adventure games were tough, and Paul Daniels was on the television with the lovely Debbie McGee. When he was just, I mean, his act was magic, but he was pure magic, wasn't he? He was, and there was two of them on stage as well. Sort of like Magica 2. You've been playing that, Adam, haven't you?
Sort of, but that's 4-player co-op. You and I played it in 2-player co-op, didn't we?
I don't know. Do Paul and Debbie have children? I'm guessing they do. They've been with each other.
I think he's sterile, isn't he?
Is he?
All those tricks.
Is that all the magic? Yeah.
I think that's just all the magic pulsing through him. Eventually, it makes you sterile.
Couldn't pull anything substantial out of the hat.
Leave it. Yes, really good. Magicka 2 is really good. I never actually played the original Magicka. It's a game I've had in my Steam library for, years. But it's really good. I mean, this is in a preview sense. Magicka 2 is really good because, I'm sure the final game will be just completely different from the preview build, which is the start of the game. But Magicka 2 is of what I've played, really good, and a game that I think is going to do rather well, especially because it's coming to PS4. And I can see
I did not know that.
Yeah, we're going to review the game, but we've got a set person in mind for the game, so we are going to be reviewing it after release on PS4. We'll have something on the PC version as well, I'm sure, before or on the embargo, usual stuff. But it's really good because the co-op is interesting. We played this game, didn't we? And you can. It's all elemental spells, but you can mix them up, can't you?
Like similar to I had never actually played Magicka before. When we were discussing it beforehand, I was like, is that some sort of CCG? And I was getting it mixed up with Magic the Gathering. That's how little knowledge I had about the Magicka series. But when you start off, it's quite a cutesy, nice kind of a looking.
It looks like a cute version of Diablo.
Yeah, and I suppose that's kind of what it is.
Well, without the loot, I think. I don't think it's got loot, has it?
Oh, good question.
We didn't encounter any loot in what we played, did we?
No.
Did we not pick up stuff like new gear?
Rarely. So, possibly. The aspect of kind of mixing and matching your spells was so cool. I'm going to call them spells. I don't know. Your powers, whatever. Which is kind of introduced in because you can watch a video of us playing it. We kind of discovered it. Well, it was introduced to us kind of a bit later, and it's quite cool because you've 8. I want to say 8 kind of different magic kind of powers at your disposal. Like you can obviously heal the person you're with, or you can what else can you do? You can put a force field around you or around each other. You can obviously attack other enemies. We get different kind of attack abilities like lightning. You can freeze enemies. There's this unstoppable fucking death ray that you can use, which is brilliant. And by mixing and matching things, like one thing that I was kind of doing was I was mixing the lightning with the death kind of spell. And what it would do is, whereas the death kind of thing is, it's just a laser effectively, and if you point that at an enemy, it'll bring down their health. But when you have the lightning attached to it, if you're aiming it at one specific enemy and there are a couple around them, then the lightning will kind of trigger this effect where it'll affect those as well. And I suppose, the area of effect will be quite larger. And I really like that.
It's one of those games where I kind of feel like, we were being a couple of pricks because we were doing it for a God is a Geek video, but it's one of those where I kind of would like to play it properly and actually just play it, not for work kind of thing, because I really, really liked it. Yep,
I'm very similar. I actually, speaking of, I had a very, very similar reaction to a game called Inside My Radio. Because you know yourself, Adam, it's like, I've never heard of this game, or I don't want to do something I just want to play The Witcher, or I want to play whatever. And that was my feeling towards Inside My Radio. But however, when I was actually playing it, it was like, this is fucking good.
I mean, that's why I wanted us to cover it, because I remember seeing it a little while ago and I was interested then, and I kind of wanted preview code, but we never got that. So the final build didn't come quite in time to review it. So you're putting a video together, basically, aren't you?
Yeah. So effectively, it's like a rhythm-based platformer where your movement isn't restricted by the beat. However, your kind of attacks and jumps are. So you can you can move freely left and right, but you must always jump on the beat, the 4-4 beat. There's kind of a slam down attack with the Y button again on the beat, and there's a dash kind of movement as well, which is for platforms that are quite close to each other, but there's, I don't know, some kind of obstruction in the way where you need the dash ability. That's kind of handy there as well.
Yeah.
And again, that has to be on the beat. And it's, I don't know, it's like I started off kind of playing a bit of it and I couldn't really stop. You know,
that's always a very good sign. It's a platformer, isn't it, essentially? It
is a platformer. No, there's one, like, there'll be a video on the site kind of, I don't know, soon. And
because sorry, I don't mean to cut across you, but it reminds me what you're saying there of, in fact, I think you mentioned this when I gave you the code. You mentioned and I've completely spaced on the game, and I reviewed it. Oh god, the dungeon crawling.
Crypt in the Necrodancer.
Yes, crap name, but amazing game.
Yeah,
and you said you hoped it would be like that, and it does sound like it kind of is a bit.
Kind of similar.
Obviously, different genre within the genre. Like, you know, it's a rhythm game, but it's also a side-scrolling platformer. But
yeah, so like, whereas Crypt of the Necrodancer, like your movement has to be on the beat and everything has to be on the beat. With this. Your movement doesn't have to be on the beat. There's one thing that, and you'll kind of see this on the video as well, where I say how the enemies, right? This is one thing that annoys me with certain games. Like, I'm trying to think of a recent game that did it. Shovel Knight did it. What else did it? I can't remember, but you do see it every now and again. Specifically, kind of in 2D games, really, is where enemies can attack you from off the screen, but you can't attack them because you can't see them. Now, I haven't come across that, but I've come across something kind of similar. Because you have to attack on the beat, that restricts you. You know, you can't just like hammer the X button or whatever to try and slash out at an enemy. If you want to dash into them, you have to do it on the 4-4 time. But the enemies, as far as the enemies I encountered, they could just do whatever they wanted. And
okay, that reminds me of one of my most biggest pet peeves in all of gaming, which is like in a game like a Devil May Cry. Yeah. Say you're my enemy and I'm Dante and I'm attacking you, and as you're being hit, you do a move which breaks my attack, and it's like no, you were being hit. You shouldn't be able to stun me out of my attack because I've just hit you. If you can stun me, then I should be able to stun you, and I'm hitting you, so you should be stunned. Like animation breaking stuff, like where they can hit you and break your animation, but you can't do the same to them. I really hate that in games. It's stupid. Like it's not it's badly designed difficulty. That is for me.
However, like in saying that, very enjoyable.
It's not a deal breaker. I don't mean that. I just
no, but it's just annoying, and it shouldn't happen. You know, those things shouldn't really happen. But like across the board, as I say, I kind of started off not really knowing what this was and just kind of going to do a small bit and kind of put up something, and then eventually, while actually playing, I was like, this is fucking really, really good.
Always a pleasure. That's one of the best things in gaming. That is.
When you play something, it's like, I have no idea.
Or you not so much expect something, but quite the opposite. You have no expectations, and it just floors you. It's this weird little game, and you think, oh, and then you play it. Oh.
Now, I've had expectations about Hohokum, and I actually do have it downloaded, but I just again haven't gotten around to it. Now, I mean, the old age kind of joke here on for long time listeners of the God is Geek podcast was that I was a pretentious cunt, and I enjoyed a lot of indie games and whatnot. However, is Hohokum, and this is as someone who hasn't played it yet, has it downloaded on their PlayStation 4,
right?
Is Hohokum too pretentious?
I don't think that's a fair question, because I'm nobody to deign something too pretentious.
But in your opinion, YMHO, as the kids say.
I would say I don't get it.
YMHO doesn't make sense. No, I just realised. IYO. Go on. Sorry, I had to correct myself.
I mean, YMHO, isn't that your massive hanging aubergine? I don't know. Hohokum is a glorious looking game. And it's actually got a really nice soundtrack that I could imagine really relaxing. And it is a relaxing game. But after 30, 40 minutes, I stopped and I thought to myself, I don't know why I'm playing this. I don't get it. It's really nice looking and sounding, but as a game, it doesn't. It's a bit too, again, I'm going to use this word again, it must be my word of the week, but obtuse. It feels like it's not giving me enough feedback. And anyone who listens to the Godcast knows that both you and I are all for passive experiences. Like, I mean, Journey, one of the greatest games of that era, is quite a passive game. I mean, you are inputting commands to make things happen, but there's no... Well, there is danger at times, but it's quite a relaxing experience. I mean, Walking Dead, like Telltale games and stuff, they can be quite passive because there's no feedback as such. And Hokum, it reminds me of, do you remember the PlayStation 3 game Flow?
Yep.
Where you're moving around like a little spermy fish thing.
I thought it was a bucket of shit.
It was all right. Like, I didn't like it. I didn't hate it. I didn't feel anything for it. I just felt ambivalence. And I sort of feel that way about Hokum. I just feel like I can... kind of maybe see why. Like, I think Sean reviewed it for us and give it a 9, and I just maybe I can't see that. I don't know. I mean, it's up to his opinion. Obviously, I just sort of feel nothing for it. It just, maybe it's one of those games you have to play it, and at the right moment, it just everything clicks into place and grabs you. But you just seem to be flying this. Again, it's like a sperm. I mean, I don't mean to be, overly crass, but that's what it looks like.
I cannot believe Adam Cook said the words, I don't mean to be overly crass.
Yeah, but this week I'm being the real Adam Cook. I'm not being the God is a Geek actor Adam Cook, so...
And as we all know, in reality, when the mics are off, you are...
a terrific bastard.
A man of decorum.
Oh, yeah. That one. It is that, and you're swimming around, and... I can't really even explain it because it's such a visual game. Like, I can't say, if I was explaining Gears of War, I would say it's a third-person cover shooter that has an active reload system, and most people listening would know what that means. Hokum, you are basically a sperm. Is it? I don't know if that's what it is. It's what it looks like, floating around inside of things, and by moving across and touching things, you light things up and interacting with. Again, very much like Flow. I mean, it's free on PlayStation Plus, so, whatever, really, but it's a bit strange. And it's more strange than most things.
Would it be stranger? Would it be stranger than life?
I mean, that's the difficult question, because life is strange.
It is. And that's what I've been playing this week as well. Life is Strange, Episode 3. Now, Adam, I know you haven't played it, and I
want to.
Yeah, it is just out, so I won't spoil anything. As we are, we don't spoil episodic, narrative-driven games.
Would it be easier if I ask you non-spoiler questions about it?
Sure.
Okay, so, is it less than 2 hours long?
No. I saw people say that. For me, it wasn't anyway.
You see, the reason I asked that is because Nick reviewed it for us, 7.5 out of 10, I think he gave it, and he said it was the shortest yet. So I said, well, how long did the other episodes take you? And he said, oh, the other episodes have taken me 2.5 hours or more. And I was, what? How? Because most of them have taken me well under 2 hours.
This took me, I would say, well, I suppose not far off. I don't know, maybe 2.5 to 3. Like, I do quite a bit of exploring.
See, my worry with Life is Strange is that the episodic thing has gotten to the point where a lot of people now don't buy it till it's all out and binge on it, Netflix style. So I'm a bit dubious of even asking questions about episode. I've heard there is a moment at the end of episode 3, which you won't spoil, obviously, that is mind-blowing. Is that... Because you and I have very similar tastes when it comes to narrative games. Yeah,
that is correct.
Does it leave you desperate for 4, does it, episode 4?
Very much so.
Okay.
Do you
like it? Oh, sorry, go on.
I would actually say that I thought the ending to episode 3 was better than episode 2.
Jesus. Right.
Now, would I say that the entire episode was better than episode 2?
I kind of hope they don't keep going over 2.5 hours with the episodes, because I like the fact these games are about an hour and a half to 2 long. Is it just me?
Episodic games, or
yeah, because I mean, isn't the point that you're telling a sort of 6 to 8 hour experience over 5 episodes? I hope they're not turning these into like 12-hour games over 5 episodes.
I would agree with you. Yeah, I do like I don't know.
I like the fact that with Life is Strange, with Telltale games, that is a thing I can sit down at my computer or PlayStation or whatever and play the episode. Yeah, know that I will play the episode. I have cleared an hour and a half. I've cleared 2 hours. It will be done. And what you're suggesting, it sounds like I need to clear nearer 2.5 to 3, and that's a lot longer.
But that depends then. Like if you don't kind of really, I don't know, explore an awful lot in Life is Strange, then I don't know, you might finish it. You might be a little bit quicker.
I see that again. That's impossible to answer without playing it. I really want to play it. Like I really like this series. I really, really do. There's no, I'm not going to say anything. I can't. No, you can't really talk. I mean, all I would say is that so far, and I've only played the first 2, my current favourite episodic gaming is Borderlands and this, and I don't know when, but I mean, Game of Thrones episode 4's soon by the looks of it. Borderlands, I don't know.
Yeah, I fucking loved Borderlands after playing it.
I mean, it's still. I'm sorry, but it's still the case is that only Capcom have got this right, and I don't think they're getting enough credit for it. Don't Nod are close, but they are. From what they originally stated, it looked like it was going to be 1 a month, very clear. The next one is this date. They've started getting a little less clear and a little more sporadic. Telltale is still Telltale. Like Capcom are the only ones who got it right, and I don't feel they're getting any credit for it. Revelations 2 was not only a really good game, but they absolutely nailed the episodes. Every Tuesday, a new episode. That's episodic gaming. That's how it should be.
That's what it's meant to be. If the experience is a little bit shorter, if it is an hour and a half to 2 hours, maybe like on average 90 minutes for your average player, then the week-long wait is fine, I think. Whereas maybe there might be a bit of pressure for a Don't Nod or whatever, because I think the wait for episode 3 was a little bit longer, I want to say.
I think you're right, slightly, maybe a week.
So maybe there might be an element of, I don't know, maybe they're kind of thinking, well, look, we have to make it a bit meatier than your Telltales or your whatnot.
In fairness, Life is Strange, I never encountered any technical stuff, although I have heard that episode 3 there is a little bit. Did you?
I mean, technically, like, there's no, it doesn't crash, it doesn't look like shit. I actually quite like how Life is Strange looks.
Yeah.
However,
some people not then?
No.
Oh, it's just the way you said that. It was almost defensive.
However, the lip syncing is still it's not great.
Can you see past it? Does it bother you that much?
There are certain moments where it becomes more pronounced, where it's very difficult to see past it. But for the majority of the time, you can. Yeah, you can right. Just like, I mean, I don't know. Like if you're hunting for those moments, you'll probably see them a lot more.
Yeah.
But I mean, look.
I mean, I can think of a game that has tremendous lip syncing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have lip sucking?
Do
you suck any part of anyone's body? Probably, or else you're getting sucked. I'm not sure.
I don't know what you're alluding to.
The Witcher 3, finally! Everyone's been waiting for a half an hour.
And you haven't even played it, even though you've got a copy of it.
Yep, I haven't
played
it.
On PC Master Race, you've got a copy and you haven't played it. Because you played Life is Strange instead.
Yeah, we'll get on to the PC Master Race. But Adam, you've been playing... It's not, I suppose, yeah, you haven't played. You've been playing constantly, as you alluded to at the beginning. This is your life.
I genuinely have, and this is why I haven't played Life is Strange, because I feel guilty for not playing The Witcher 3, because at the time, it's like I can't remember if I'd scored it at the time or if I hadn't. I have now. Gave it 9 out of 10. I love it. I love The Witcher 3, but I couldn't in my heart of hearts give it any higher than a 9, because I think it has a lot, and I mean a lot, of very small problems, which to me, now and again, you don't care, but like the version.
Okay, yeah, you've been playing on PS4, haven't you?
Yeah, I debugged PS4. I should point out. So the version we got was a debug version, and they said it was patched, but I think that was like a day zero patch because there was another patch for the retail copy which does tidy up, and I have tested the retail copy now. It does tidy up some of the bits, like some of the sort of it just tidies it up, generally speaking. I mean, I think one crash on the debug version. I had couple of glitches, but nothing really, and I will say I kind of don't knock score off for that because I feel like I'm being negative about this game whenever I fucking talk about it. Truth is, it's the most ambitious game I've ever played. Like, for once,
ambitious in what sense? Are you just talking
it's
scope?
just fucking huge. Like, for once, they weren't lying when they said this game's 100 hours. I think they were underselling it. It's probably near 150, 200. I've never seen a game this big. It is enormous. Like, you'll start the game and you'll be like, God, this is big. And you'll get out of that area and you'll realise that was just one of the smaller areas out of like another 4 of them, which are all about 10 times bigger than that area, and your head will explode.
Is it too big?
I swing yes and no on that. Because it's so big, and part of me thinks, like, who has time for that, really? No, if they're not doing it for a job,
Like, I suppose we've wrestled with the whole idea of large areas for games, and for the most part, we've come to the conclusion that it's just too much. Don't make it a massive area, but like that. It depends if it's full of things to do. Like, if you give... And good things. Like Far Cry 4, I think, was an example where we stated where the map was just destroyed in icons. And it was just a lot of the time. It was just it was just shit. It was just...
Wild Hunt does a bit of that.
Does it? Okay.
But it's not shit stuff. Like, there's not really any, like, collect X this and Y of that. It doesn't really do that, and it does reward you. The one thing I would suggest to anyone just starting out is don't feel like, because there's this culture on the online space of gamers where you feel like you've got to smash through a game to be current and be talking about the same thing as everyone else. The Witcher 3 is the poster child game for not doing that. Like, seriously, don't give a shit that in 3 weeks we're not talking about it perhaps on the podcast. Don't give a shit that your favourite YouTuber is moved on to Batman or some other game that's nearly out. Don't care about that. This game rewards you for allowing it to permeate into your life almost, and take the time to just indulge in it, just explore, because you can't go more than a few minutes of just riding around without something happening, even if it's just a battle. But usually it's a point of interest that something will appear and suddenly you've got a new quest line, and then 10 hours later somehow that quest line that seemed unimportant and literally a side quest, somehow it overlaps with the main story, and it's genius. Like, there's a moment at the start of the game, I think it's scripted and a must do, but where you go in a tavern and there's an option of either buy these lads are dicks, like they're obviously idiots and drunks and aggressive, but you can
come on, they're just probably having
no, trust me, it's obvious that they are assholes, but you can fight them. I think you can fight them, but I chose to just, because I think someone had said, like, let's just be incognito here. So you buy them a drink. 10 hours later, they happen to be guarding somewhere you want to get into, and they turn around and go, oh, hang on, that's that Witcher guy that bought us a drink, come on in. Now, if you didn't buy him a drink then, there's a whole different... Because there's literally 2 options. Like, you either have to, I guess, beat your way in, you happen to have bought them a drink, and chose... And there's a lot of that stuff, and it all links in. You can also fail secondary quests because they are linked to characters in the primary story. Does that make sense?
Hold on, you can say that again?
Well, so there's a secondary quest of, like, do this, right? But in the main story, perhaps that person's no longer around, or perhaps they've gone out of your game for a bit, so you can't do that quest. You failed that quest. So if you rush just doing the story, you're going to miss out on side quests. And some of the side quests are better than the main story missions.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Would you recommend to people who are just beginning The Witcher, or maybe picking it up on Friday on payday or whatever, like, would you tell them to not just mainline the quest to indulge in side quests?
It's difficult because the way you level up in Witcher 3 is incredibly slowly. Like, you might need 1,500 XP to level up, and you'll get 10 XP from a side quest that took you 40 minutes. Whereas story missions tend to give you like 500. So it's very clear that you level up. Your best bet to level up is through the story. But the side quests, it's so difficult because I feel like we could talk for 4 hours about this game. The way I would compare it to Grand Theft Auto 5 in that people have a respect for that game because the world of GTA 5 is truly alive, and The Witcher 3 does that on somehow a grander scale. I cannot emphasize enough how big this game is. It is huge, and apparently there's more areas coming in DLC. So like, I don't even know if you spent 200 hours on this game. I don't know that you could see everything. I really don't. It's that big, and it just surprises you. I mean, there's Gwent, which is basically their, I guess, version of Hearthstone, which I really dig. And I'm sat here now talking about it, thinking, wouldn't it be cool if they released, and I don't know why they didn't actually, released an iOS companion app of Gwent. Just call it Gwent. It's a game. It's a free download, and it links into your game. You tie your PSN or your Steam account or whatever, and because you can create a deck of this card game.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So,
yep.
Give me a breakdown of what Gwent is.
Gwent is, you start and you have 10 cards, and you create a deck of 10 cards, right? And you create these cards, and how do you explain it? It's kind of, initially I thought it was like Hearthstone, but it's not really. But you have 3 rounds, and you can play as many cards as you want in each round, but so can your opponent. Once you pass, that's you finished. So you go back and forth, I play a card, you play a card. And there's 3 lanes, like close encounters, medium distance, and like long stuff, like the rock throwing things. I don't forget what they're called. Trebuchet? I don't know, whatever. And you can, each card has a value of attack, and so if you put 3 of them into your close lane, there might be 4 swordsmen, and it adds up to 14 points. And they're doing the same, but you're also under the, at the time you're doing this, you're playing the only 10 cards you've got, so you can easily win that first round and just play all 10 cards, but you've then got no cards left, so you're going to lose round 2 and 3, so you're going to lose. And by playing this game, you get rare cards, so it's a bit like that, a bit like Hearthstone, and it's this whole massive thing that it would be so good if they released now. I would play it. The only thing I have is that I think because you can only play 10 cards, it does kind of mean that first round's too cagey. And if the CPU AI messes up that first round and they've got like 2 cards left, you're going to win. Like you know if you're going to win after round 1, really, essentially. But again, I just talked about that for 5 minutes. That's just a non-essential part of The Witcher 3. Like it's got a world jankiness, like the horse. There's a weird thing with the movement that you eventually accustomed to and don't care about. In that it's kind of, his momentum's a bit weird. Like if you let go of the stick, he will run a few more steps because he's got momentum. And I still think the combat is probably the worst part of the game. I mean, it's fine, it's good, it's decent, I guess. But I still think, it's exactly the same as the enhanced edition of Witcher 2. It's exactly the same. That what they've done is taken Witcher 2, stripped out most of the politics, which is a bit of a... It's still there. There's an undercurrent, but the story focus is definitely not on politics. And they've left the combat the same. They've gone bigger with it, basically. They genuinely have gone bigger with it. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Too early to say if it would be my game of the year. It's definitely one of the best games this year, and it's probably the game that will get them finally brought into the mainstream of gamers, because I think everyone will buy this.
What do you mean when you say mainstream of gamers?
The Witcher 2 was a PC game that was then brought to Xbox 360 with changed controls and just a lower difficulty level. And this now is, because you've got to remember, this is the first time a Witcher game's been on PlayStation ever. Mm-hmm. So it's a game that's now on all formats, and it's being pushed like no tomorrow. I still find the whole thing weird about the review situation. I find it really weird that it's a PC game that nobody got PC copies of until it was out. I find it even weirder that it was not Xbox One code when previews were on Xbox One. The co-marketing's with Xbox One, but everyone basically if you reviewed The Witcher 3 and hit the embargo, you reviewed it on Debug PS4. That's it. And I find that weird, but I mean that's kind of irrelevant. I mean I don't know that our listeners are interested in that. That's inside baseball type shit.
Which I suppose kind of brings us to our talking point. Look, there's no Calvin's movie minute this week because I've only seen Game of Thrones and Adam has seen nothing. So, and if we talk about the scene from Game of Thrones that caused controversy, we'll probably this podcast will go very long.
Is it? Oh, well, I was going to ask you just to be really short. Is it as outrageous? I know what it is. I've read about it. I know what it is.
I'll give you a short answer. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Go on. What are you asking me? Ask me the question.
Well, I've read articles that people have said that's it now. I'm not watching this anymore. It's put me right off. I've said I know what happens. I'm not going to say it because I'm not going to spoil it. I haven't seen it, but I've never really cared about spoilers. So I read an article that in detail explains what happens in that scene of Game of Thrones. You've seen it.
Yeah.
Did it affect you in that way? Is it as bad?
It is quite shocking.
Has it put you off? I guess is what I'm asking.
No, because see, I was able to stand back from the moment and appreciate there's the three people that are involved in the scene and say just be like, wow. The three people on screen now are just playing this to perfection. Just being brilliant in their roles. Obviously, some people really took offence to it. I didn't really, to be honest.
Okay.
That's the short answer. We could go quite longer. But we have to talk more Witcher, Adam Cook, because you were talking there about everyone reviewing a PC game on PlayStation 4. Well, it's funny you should say that because CD Projekt Red, traditionally a PC developer, The Witcher, a PC series, by all accounts, first one only PC, second one on PC, then came to Xbox a year afterwards. Witcher 3 out on all of them at the same time. And there was a bit of uproar, I suppose, when The Witcher 3 was out about the game being downgraded because it was being compared to a trailer that was at the VGX Awards. Do you remember them? In 2013, where the game looked incredible. It was a trailer, really does look fucking unbelievable. And a couple of people took screenshots of The Witcher that is out, and I mean it looks a bit downgraded, and
quite a lot downgraded.
A lot, yeah. Eurogamer interviewed CD Projekt Red, and there was a couple of interesting takeaways from this interview, because I suppose, well, first of all, they said that if there was no console version of The Witcher 3, there would be no Witcher 3, because they were asked whether or not the console versions are kind of holding back the PC version. And they didn't really answer that question as such. They just said that if there was no console version, there wouldn't be a Witcher 3.
I mean, that doesn't tend to be the way development works, does it? I mean, don't you develop for the higher spec and then once it's done, downscale it for the lower spec?
You would think. Marcin Iwinski of CD Projekt Red, the co-founder, fantastic name. He said, quote, developing only for the PC, yes, probably we could get more in terms of graphics, as there would be nothing else. They would be so focused, like if we would develop only on Xbox One or PlayStation 4, but then we cannot afford such a game. So I suppose what they're saying there is that if it was PC only, it would look better. And go on.
Sorry, go on. No, I was just going to say there is a reason it came to Xbox 360 for Witcher 2 that made them more money. Mm-hmm. There's a reason it's now on every format. It will make them the money that they need to make back to have funded the development in the first place.
Yeah, completely.
It's won't been a cheap game to make.
No, not at all. I mean,
the amount of voice acting alone is cheap. I know these games are on Blu-rays nowadays, but seeing the install at 30 gig, I reckon 29 of that must be voice acting. It's astonishing how much voice acting's in this game.
I can imagine just random NPCs and...
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot more... I think there's more chat in this game than there is combat.
Really?
I think so. There's long periods where the only combat is just a now and again you're in an encounter in the woods. You're going from A to B and an animal appears and you just kill 4 of them. It is an awful lot of conversation wheels. Well, they're not wheels, but you know. So
what would be your slant on this? In that, what he's saying here is that, yeah, it's, well, when they were kind of asked, is there a downgrade? They actually said, we don't agree there is a downgrade, but it's our opinion, and gamers' feeling can be different. If they made their purchasing decision based on the 2013 materials, I'm deeply sorry for that, and we are discussing how we can make it up to them, because that's not fair. Now,
they watchdogged it.
I was just going to say, that was the point I was going to make, Watch Dogs.
So if you go to our YouTube channel, right, youtube.com/GodIsAGeek, and just click, upload, so you can see all the video. There's a Witcher video there called The Witcher 3, Let's Go Hunting, I think I called it. And the thumbnail image for that is not in the game. It's a screenshot I grabbed that was, I suppose you'd call it a bull shot, but it's from one they've released, That's just not how the game looks. The game has those themes, it's that kind of looking game, but the game just doesn't look like that. It doesn't look bad, but it certainly doesn't look like the pre-release material. I don't think they downgraded it. I think they probably upgraded the stuff they released of the game. I think what they let you see was upgraded.
A vertical slice, as they say, which for those that don't know is...
Yeah, Watch Dogs, basically.
Effectively... kind of, a 10-minute or 20-minute kind of chunk of
But don't you remember I said this a long time ago, Colm? Going far back as 2 E3s ago, I was saying how it was worrying that they will not let anyone have hands on a controller with this fucking game.
Yeah.
Because Calvin went to 2 years running behind closed doors, E3 eyes on, where he sat and watched someone play it. And I said to you I was worried about this game for a long time because they were not letting you play it. And It was only a couple of... When was it? It was earlier this year when Ray Wilmot went to Scotland and played it for us. And he said it was great, but we never really quizzed him about the visuals because you just kind of never... Because CD Projekt Red have implicitly got our trust as a developer.
Mm-hmm.
I've talked about it before, how I think a developer like Platinum Games gets away with all sorts of shit because they're Platinum Games. I think Kojima gets away. As I've been listening to the podcast the last few weeks, and I've been hoping and waiting for the Konami discussion.
There will be one. We're just waiting for it all to stop.
I won't go on about it for too long, but I have this really weird relationship with Konami in that I love PES. I quite like Castlevania, and I've never been a big Metal Gear fan. Although I've played them and they're fine. I like them. I just don't revere them the way you do, perhaps. But it baffles me the way, even though nobody's really said anything, everyone is like, Konami are bastards, fuck Konami. Where it's like, is there no possibility at all that Kojima has just gone fucking nuts and he's one demand? Because he's had the run of the mill.
Yeah.
He's been able to do whatever he wants. Let's face it. Maybe Konami went, look, when you fired David Hayter and hired Kiefer Sutherland at 20 times the budget, we turned a blind eye. But this thing now, we've had enough. You're not worth it. We can get rid of you. We own Metal Gear. We can get rid of you, and we can still make these games, and they'll still be good games. We've had enough of you. But there's none of that. Immediately, people are like, Konami, blah, 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 blah. And so then it was like, and they've taken down that video. They've taken down that video that says the truth about it. I'm like, well, no, they're saying it's come down because it's not true. So, but nobody believes them. CDPR are the opposite of that. Everyone's just immediately like, oh, no, not them. And I don't...
So some of that goodwill is kind of fading in the past couple of days since The Witcher 3 was released.
Did it not bother you? I'll ask you, Colm. Did it not bother you that they announced... So we talked about Batman away from the cast, and you probably talked about... I think you did talk about it briefly on the cast a couple of weeks ago, and the DLC being announced. And I think Dan was, again, off-cast, Dan Nails was talking about the DLC for... Oh, shit, what game was it? Lego Dimensions, how they've announced all this DLC ahead of time. And CDPR did that. And yes, it's free, but then they hit you with but we're also releasing this paid DLC.
That was, yeah.
And I feel like people look at game developers like they're their mates. So I know that you, Colm, I can trust you. I know I can trust you. You have my goodwill. I will always, even if someone comes to me and said, "Oh, Colm did this," I would automatically go, I need to hear the full story because I don't believe that. It's unlikely.
I'm a fantastic human being.
Right, and to me you are, so I immediately am going to think, well, I'm going to ask him because I need to know. And there are other people in my life who, when someone says that, you would like go, well...
Not as much, though, to be fair.
No, but it sounds like... Do you know what I mean, though? You go to those... And someone says, oh, God, Jim, he just fucked a pig. And like, well, you go, well... That does sound like something Jim would do. He's a nasty bastard.
He's a nasty... Well, he's mental.
Ropey, man.
He's good on a night out. Mad for the bants, that Jim.
Yeah, but he never knows when to turn it off, does Jim? And like, you're near in farmyards and it's just disgraceful. And I feel like developers are being treated like people. Like, there is no developer...
treated like Jim?
Well, yeah, well, no, what I'm saying is there's no developer who has earned your trust because they are money makers. They are not there to create things for you. They are there to create money for themselves, and you buying their game is a byproduct. I know that's a massively cynical thing, but that's the way business works. But they're not there going, we're going to make this lovely game just for Colm because we love our fans. You're doing that because you know your fans are going to buy it and give you money to make you keep doing what you love for a job. It's like an artist. It's an artist thing, isn't it? People talk about selling out. You sell out the second you sell a record. That's what it is. That's what selling out is. The second you take money for your produce, you've sold out. That's not a bad thing. That's consumerism. It's the way it works. No?
Yeah.
So but Platinum Games, they can have Bayonetta making sex noises because they make great games. Yeah, but they make them because you buy them. So to say they implicitly have your trust is, to me, a weird... I have developers I particularly like, and that will be for two reasons. One, I know them. I know people who work there, and they are good people. Two, I have general... So, for example, we talked about this. Roll 7. We've had them on the cast twice because they're good people to have on the cast. There's no dodginess there. They're just entertaining to have on the podcast. They're funny. They will come on here and say fuck because they aren't guarded and they're not... Like, they haven't been PR'd to death yet, you know? They are just people who make games. But also, every game they've made so far has been exceptional. So I like them in terms of that, in that I would always, when they announce a game, go, hopefully this will be as good as the last. But again, they're doing what they love to make games, to keep doing what they love. So this weird trust thing, like, I know it's a cynical thing to say, but do you trust any developer? Colm Ahern, do you trust any developer that you would say, oh no, you've put this talking point down here. What do you think about it?
I think...
Have I just talked bollocks?
No, you're making valid points, because at the end of the day, it is business. And it's like CD Projekt Red and Valve are two which are kind of held on a pedestal. Like, CD Projekt Red are kind of... I suppose they're kind of even been positioned as a kind of a new age Valve. Like, they have GOG, which is their Steam, which, like, they recently... Although, no, hang on, is it still in beta? Galaxy? I think GOG Galaxy is still in beta, which is their Steam client, basically. Their GOG client. And, I mean, there are certain things that they say. Like, for instance, in that Eurogamer interview, they say that, like, right, we don't think it's been downgraded, but if you think it is, okay. I mean, if you bought it on stuff from 2013, I'm sorry, and we're going to try and make it up to you.
Okay, hang on, let me ask you a question. Hang on. You've seen this game in action, you've seen me playing it, right?
Yeah.
Colm, has it been downgraded?
Yes.
Right. So, and you know that because...
Because I can see stuff from before.
No. You know this because you have eyes.
Yes.
So them saying that is bollocks. I actually do quite like CD Projekt Red. They've made 3 games. I like 2 of them. I haven't played the other one. You know what I mean? So I'm not here to be like, oh, fuck CD Projekt. Not at all. They are good guys from what it seems like. But that's a weird thing to say, isn't it? Oh, if you think it's been downgraded. Well, I think it's been downgraded because I've got fucking eyes.
It's like, sorry if I hurt your feelings. It's like, I mean,
downgraded.
Okay, so are you not sorry?
But maybe downgraded is the wrong word here. It looks different to what they sold it from originally. And
I think downgraded is a fair word to use.
Not if it was never looking like that to begin with. If it never really looked like that.
From what we saw. Again, it is the
that's what I mean. It looks different.
Example.
It looks different to how they revealed it.
Like, we talk about them being a PC developer, and it's like I kind of mentioned about the trust over the past couple of days has kind of waned a little bit because a lot of PC players, because like again, let's face it, The Witcher, it's a PC series. Like a lot of PC players are suffering an awful lot of technical difficulties.
That's bizarre.
Because it's like trying to get it to run at 60 frames per second. It sounds, just judging, like reading comments on Reddit and seeing I suppose the commenters, like them posting their specs and saying, well, I can get this on that, or if I turn this off, it'll make this happen.
I don't understand this.
It seems at 60 frames per second, you need to be getting a fucking Titan, which is like a grand.
But, I mean, we had a question from Samir Rafiq about this, didn't we? We weren't going to ask him because he's got another question later, but he asked, should CD Projekt Red be criticised for the graphics downgrade on Witcher 3? Their holier-than-thou attitude is slightly infuriating to me, and I wanted to address that because like the reason they can be holier-than-thou, I think, is because we put them on a pedestal, and that's the royal we, that's all of us. By giving them, we trust them 100%, they're amazing, I nearly said buying into that. That's not fair. You said, like, you used the phrase they've earned that. How? How have they earned that pedestal that we put them on? We are to blame. We put them on that pedestal
by releasing good games and giving off this impression that they're the good guy, and like kind of, I suppose, trying to be like say, being very clever with their words and saying all of the right things. Do you know, like, we want to be there for the gamers and all this kind of stuff.
But this boils down to the same old thing to me.
Put on the pedestal.
Like we and I mean we as critics, we as consumers, who the people who buy games, just like Batman, just like all of this, we put people on a pedestal, and we have the right to change that by saying we will not buy that. Now, I'm not saying you should do that because Witcher 3 is one of the best games this year, but I'm saying we need to stop putting people on pedestals and treat people as equal. Like, Warner are the latest in a long line of developers to be not flavour of the month. What would be the opposite of that? Shit of the month, I guess. But even now, they're only just getting sort of people having a go at them. I mean, if EA had done what they did with like Lego Dimensions or something, like, it would be uproar. Like, we have to stop putting people on pedestals and treat everyone the same, because we are all the same. Right?
You were almost a Jill sandwich.
Metal Gear.
It's me, Mario.
Do a barrel roll.
Oh, this is space. I'm in space.
Hail to the king, baby.
It's the part of the show, my favourite part, where we get to play a little game that I like to call Guess Who. This is... Yes, go on, what were we going to say?
I thought the favourite part of the show was when you did the intros. It's my favourite part of the show.
I enjoy that too, especially when Nails is on.
Nails, yeah.
I if you listened last week, I nearly made myself hoarse.
Yeah, that sounded painful. I mean, you're gonna have it's good he's not here, because I don't know where you can go.
No, I kind of reached it.
You've hit the glass ceiling, and then you broke through it. You're Charlie in the Chocolate Factory. You're in a glass elevator flying around now, and I just don't know how you land that, brother.
But guess who? This is basically the part of the show where I test the gaming knowledge of my fellow podders. And basically, I give 5 clues to the identity of a video game character, and you, in this case, Adam, must guess correctly. Now, Adam, normally, when you think you have an answer, you shout out your name, but it's just the two of us, so it's fine. But
can I break tradition? Can I guess it before you even give me a clue?
Yes, but that will count as one of your guesses, because Adam, you have to be careful.
Yep.
As you only have 3 guesses.
So
no
3
looking
guesses.
Up the answer.
No. Well,
and
I
to
don't know
the
what it is yet.
victor go the spoils.
Can I please have that my first guess
have your
before
first guess.
You even give me one?
Fire away.
Okay. No, I just want just a moment of hush, because if I get this, people will think I've cheated, but I haven't. I don't know what it is. But
there's literally no way you can cheat.
No, because it's not. Yeah, I was going to say. But I listened. I listen every week, and I think I've got your patterns. So, my guess. This is my first. I'll get 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you've even asked a question, Triss Merigold.
Incorrect.
That would have been amazing, wouldn't it?
That would have been astounding.
Regret
Clue
that
number
now, though.
one. Clue number one. I first appeared in a video game in 2006.
The Wonder Years. Yeah, go on.
Clue number two. I had a very good relationship with my daddy. We got on very well. Clue number three. I was once voted 19th most popular video game character of all time by the Guinness World Records Video Game Edition readers. Clue number four. While I am at the forefront of my series, I only appear in 3 of the 4 games released in the series. And clue number 5. There's been a lot of talk lately that I'll be returning to consoles pretty soon. But in reality, my comeback will really only be in a shinier, all-round nicer looking previous outing.
Oh, Marcus Phoenix.
Yay!
Yeah, I think, is that because I've guessed that every time I've been on? Every time I guess on, I've guessed.
Effectively, yeah. I just realised when I was like, I haven't done Marcus Phoenix yet. I first appeared in a video game in 2006, Gears of War. I had a very good relationship with my daddy. He did, Adam Phoenix. Clue number 3, I was once voted, when I found it, he was once voted 19th most popular video game character of all time. Yeah.
Really?
Clue number 4, while I'm at the forefront of my series, I only appear in 3 of the 4 games. Obviously, Marcus wasn't in Judgment. And of course, yeah.
He wasn't he?
He wasn't, no. Baird and Cole were. Marcus wasn't.
Are you sure he's not in it at all? Like, he's not playable. Controversy.
Maybe in as a multiplayer skin or something, but you don't.
I was thinking a cutscene, to be honest.
No, he's not. No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then the final one, of course, about Gears of War HD.
Yeah.
Which is weird because it's like it's just the first one.
But go on.
No, I was just going to say, it's just the first one, and it's the most, like, people were putting up videos of, was it the alpha or something?
Yeah, the alpha or beta test, I think it's probably beta testing.
And, they got pulled down, and Microsoft bricked their Xboxes.
But they sent Destructoid an email, like basically a cease and desist, because they wanted them to take it down. But, obviously Destructoid were like, well, we didn't sign no NDA, fuck off. But, like, they still are not talking about it. They're still like, well, we've nothing to say on any potential Gears. And it's like, but you sent you sent them a cease and desist, and like
what? It was like Fallout a couple of weeks ago. The Fallout. It was like, why is there a cease? If just fucking announce it.
Admit it. Yeah, I can understand the Fallout thing, but you got to admit. I called it, and I still think Gears HD will be announced and released during E3.
The only issue is you were saying Marcus Phoenix collection, which got me very excited. And it's like, I would have liked a Marcus Phoenix collection. Like, the fact that it's just the first one. Give me all of them, please. Do a Master Chief thing on it.
Side note, they have to be working on more than that, right? That can't be their Gears project. They have to be doing a Gears of War. Because I initially thought maybe...
Tusk apparently.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. Is I initially would have quite liked... I wouldn't have been against them just rebooting it, like Gears of War, just calling it Gears of War, the way they looked I'd be doing with Crackdown. I would have been against that if they did it from the ground up, like completely redid it with the best visuals you can do currently. But now I'm sort of worried that that's all they're doing. Like, I hope there is a new gen Gears coming in the way like a Halo is coming, Halo 5,
Fingers crossed. But we have to get on to listener questions, Adam Cook.
Yeah.
And our first question is from Samir Rafiq at Samir AFC on Twitter. He asks us, do trophies and achievements matter? Are Nintendo missing a trick with regards this?
They used to.
See, that's the thing. I think Nintendo kind of missed a trick with the release of the Wii U. No.
Did they not initially say there was going to be some sort of trophy thing on the Wii U? I'm sure they did. I really do remember it.
I believe there was going to be, and I think there might be.
You're not thinking of stamps.
Specific. Isn't there specific trophies within games? Like, I think that's what they were getting at.
I think the fact that neither of us can say for sure says everything you need to know about Nintendo. I think trophies and achievements definitely mattered, but the way Microsoft have treated them they've made them not matter, which is bizarre because achievements is one of the coolest things to come out of last gen.
Yeah.
And now I don't know anyone who gives a shit about them because they've diminished them so much. You can get trophies from watching Netflix now. They made their achievements. They made them worthless. It was another system they had that was best in class that they thought. They forgot the old adage: if it's not broken, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. They forgot that, and they fixed it, and they ruined it.
We've another question here from Darren at Rotham, and Darren asks us: esports. How far away do you think we are from having national teams and World Cup type tourneys? Like,
Well,
I
you're the
suppose,
expert.
yeah. Do we not already kind of have that in a? I mean, what's their names? Navi are specifically Ukraine.
Ooh.
Check me out. What's the Chinese boys? What are they called?
I don't. That's not.
Should
you say that?
But they're literally boys and literally Chinese.
Okay. Right.
Oh, fuck it. What are they called?
Don't worry about it. I mean, you got one. Don't ruin it.
I can't remember. But, like, very few teams, I'm just focusing on Dota here, very few teams are kind of multinational. You know, you do generally see them just kind of be, we're American, we're Chinese, we're from the Ukraine.
You got the COD championships. I mean, if he's asking, subtext here, is he asking, do you think you'll ever see him on TV and stuff? I mean, they do in America, a couple of them, but not much. But I mean, I think like a FIFA or a Call of Duty tournament, but it's got more chance of being on
That was
TV
fucking
than,
mental news the other day about Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg signing up to, was it 2 or 3 esports players, FIFA esports players to represent Wolfsburg.
Yeah.
That was fucking insane.
Yeah.
See, yeah, I mean, I suppose World Cups, like, they're going to be in the biggest esports, which is going to be your LoL or your Dota, I suppose. I mean, perhaps. I would think if you were an esports fan, it would be cool to see, fellas from different, like, specific teams coming together.
I mean, he's asking how far do you think we are away from this? I think a couple of years, because I think most gaming sites that are dedicated to just gaming have only just decided, we should cover esports. Guilty as charged, really.
Yeah, exactly. We've another question here from Stephen Dunn at CKY Hellion, and he asks us, how would you approach, very interesting actually, how would you approach a sequel to The Last of Us in terms of story?
I wouldn't make one.
I'm the exact same, thank you very much, Adam Cook.
But that's a cop-out because he's saying that there is one.
How would you? Yeah.
I think you have to either create an entire new story.
Well, okay, I was going to say, if you want to reference the first one, I was going to say, look, there might be spoilers here for The Last.
No, I won't spoil them, but I won't spoil it now. I still wouldn't. It's a game I don't want to ever spoil. But I would. There's only 2 ways. One is that it has to literally carry on from the final moments, or even start with a 1 month later type thing.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
No, so the only other way of doing it is to create a whole new story with whole new characters in somewhere else in the world that exists in that universe where that has the apocalypse based. You know what I mean? That apocalyptical thing. I don't think that works. I think it loses all the impact. But I don't see any third option.
I would probably carry on the story, but years and years later.
10 years?
Possibly.
I don't think that works. I get why, but I don't think it works. I think if you take the characters that you play as out of the equation, you lose the attachment that you have to them.
I wouldn't take one of them out of the equation.
Yeah, I know. Again, I know what you're getting at, but what I'm saying is, I think you risk alienating the potential audience if you have them exist in the game, but you can't play as them.
I think you do play as the one I'm talking about.
But that's what I'm saying. The one that I'm referring to, if you can't be that person, I think you risk alienating people who gravitated towards his that character's personality. I mean, is there not an argument to be made that they could make a...
I think so. What I think
I suppose it's a risk takers.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of characters in The Last of Us that I could see, almost not episodic, but a kind of. Do you know how The Walking Dead 400 Days was with smaller vignettes?
Shit.
No, like smaller vignettes of characters that you maybe knew but never knew much about. I could see A Last of Us being continued in that way, and like fleshing out that story, but by having you play as the characters you interacted with.
True. We've another question here from a man called Dan Naylor, apparently, who's on Twitter at Max Shanks. He says, long time Potter, first time listener, if you could play only one game for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Fuck off, Nails. That's a stupid question.
Our next question is from
No. Hang on. Could you answer that? Because I couldn't.
I mean,
and let's say you can't say something stupid like Minecraft. I mean, you wouldn't, but
no. You could.
I mean, what he's asking, I think, is what's the game you always fall back to? I can't even think what that is now.
Like, I mean, if you want something that will, like, if you have to play for the rest of your life, and you know it's not story focused and whatever, then maybe a PES,
a sports game, isn't it?
You know, probably.
I love you, Nails, but I can't answer
shit
that.
question, Nails. Sorry. Our next question, or our final question, is from Pughoof Gaming at Pughoof Gaming on Twitter. And they say, are we spoilt for games coverage these days? Is there too much pre-release info on a game? Is too much pre-release info on a game a bad thing?
You go first.
I think that, like, are we spoiled for games coverage these days? I don't see that as a bad thing. It's like I don't know. I'm trying to think of a current example that I can't. But let's say England a couple of years ago, and it's like, can Steven Gerrard, to bring it back, to loop it all around, can Steven Gerrard and Frank Lampard play on the same team? Oh my God, they can't. It can only be one of them. They're both so excellent.
The answer is always yes, by the way.
The answer, it's like, you can never have too many good players. Do you know? Because it elevates everyone. Like, if you bring in, like, a Memphis Depay who's coming to United, right? And by all accounts, hang on. I'm going places.
Impress me.
Memphis Depay who's coming to United, right? Yeah. You have RVP, you have Rooney, you have the young fella. Fuck, his name escapes me. What's the young fella? No. He's a midfielder. What the cunt is his name?
I know what you mean. Young forward.
Yeah. Good pace. I can't think of it. But like, if you bring in a superstar striker, which I suppose Fellaini as well, and if you he's been fucking United's probably second best player this season. Like, if you bring in Depay and you have to drop a Rooney, or let's just say he's not playing Rooney on the wing, if you were to drop a Rooney or a Van Persie or whatever, like, what you would be hoping is that it doesn't just make them go, oh well, fuck this, so do you know, I'm not going to play. It makes them elevate their game. I just think that I am fucking loop this back around to, are we spoiled for games coverage these days? No. I mean, like, it's great that there are so many different choices out there. Is there too much pre-release info, or is too much pre-release info on a game a bad thing? I don't think so either. Like, it's down to you then whether or not you want to take in this info. Like The Witcher, I was kind of viewing all that from afar because I knew I wanted to play it, I knew I was going to play it, and I am, but it was one of those cases. It's like Batman. I know I'm going to play Arkham Knight, so I don't really want to watch every single trailer. Like, although I must watch the latest, there's a live action trailer, I believe, which sounds brilliant, so I probably will watch that. But it's like spoiler filled. Like, there was not Game of Thrones, a fucking Witcher trailer recently that was, I think you said to me it spoiled one or two.
I think they spoiled
things.
A lot pre-release.
Okay.
Actually, I think CDP have kind of, I mean, for a game that they keep saying like, oh, anyone can play, it feels like they are marketing it towards people who don't know anything about the universe and not the people who play too, because I think they spoil an awful lot.
So, like, I knew, like, just stay away from it, because I don't want to know if
you don't need to. You know,
particular characters are there and stuff. So, what do you think yourself? Is too much pre-release info on a game a bad thing?
Well, the first question, like, are we spoiled for games coverage these days? I'd say no, because there's some real shit games coverage out there. Is too much pre-release info on a game a bad thing? Again, yeah, you're right. I mean, trouble is, what you're asking is for people to moderate themselves, and people are bad at that.
Yeah, but fuck them. Do you know, if they're bad at it, who gives a shit?
I mean, #GFY. You know,
GFY.
Go fuck yourself.
Right. You see, Adam, I don't know these things that the kids say.
It's not really what the kids say. It's specific to a podcast I listen to. But actually, speaking of which, Pug Hoof Gaming is Lee Garbutt's YouTube personality, his channel. So go to youtube.com and search for Pug Hoof Gaming and subscribe to him, as well as God is a Geek on YouTube. But do subscribe to Lee, because lovely guy, making some interesting videos, actually. Something a bit different. There's too much pre-releasing for a bad thing, though. Don't care. Move on.
Yeah, and I second everything Adam said. Lee, a former geeker, lovely man, man. So that just about does it for this week's episode of the God is a Geek podcast. As we always say, please rate and review us on iTunes, and also be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And don't let us be your little secret. Tweet about us, Facebook, tell your friends, your family. Just go out into the streets and scream the words God is a Geek podcast, and then go back into your door, and people will see you, and it would probably be more effective than actually telling them. Just scream it, and someone will probably go, the fuck is that? And then they might check. You can also follow us on Twitter. Adam is at GBSF. I am at Colm_her. And of course, God is Geek is also on Twitter at God is Geek. And on Facebook, facebook.com/God is Geek. On YouTube, youtube.com/God is Geek. And godisgeek.com itself for all your news, reviews, podcasts, esports, opinion pieces, videos,
games coverage.
There's too much of it. But we have it.
I'll be honest,
Colm.
I feel like there was something I was supposed to tell you, and I've forgotten what it is. And I also feel like this has been an odd podcast. I feel like it's been low on the yucks that you'd usually expect a Colm and Adam podcast to.
I think we took ourselves a little bit seriously this week.
I don't know how to feel about that.
Just, I don't know. Will we say a couple of swear words?
No, I don't think that would ruin it.
You don't think that would ruin it?
No, I do think it would ruin it. I think it would undermine all the really interesting and very serious things. Because if there's one thing that people should take away from this column, and I know, I don't even need to ask you, I know you'll agree on this. Video games are serious business, and we should take them very seriously.
True. Say goodbye, Adam.
Goodbye, Adam.
Say goodbye, Colm. Slán, Gafol.